The galaxy was vast, filled with countless species, each with their own customs, hierarchies, and prejudices. Among them, the Zorathians were known for their strict caste system and unyielding pride. At the top of their society stood the royal family, revered as near-divine beings. But even among the royals, there was no room for imperfection. Princess Lira of the Zorathians was born with a rare genetic defect, a faint discoloration in her otherwise iridescent scales. To her people, this was not just a flaw but a sign of divine disfavor. Despite her intelligence, kindness, and diplomatic prowess, Lira was deemed unworthy of her station. Her own family, fearing the shame she might bring, exiled her to a remote, barren moon to die. The moon, designated X-427, was a desolate wasteland. Its thin atmosphere offered little protection from the harsh radiation of its sun, and its surface was littered with jagged rocks and deep crevices. Lyra's pod crashed onto the moon's surface, leaving her stranded with only a limited supply of food and water. Her once pristine scales were now dulled by dust and exhaustion. As days turned into weeks, Lyra's hope dwindled. She had accepted her fate, believing that her people's judgment was final. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Enter Captain Elias Grant, a human explorer and scavenger. Elias was no stranger to the dangers of space. His ship, the Starblade, was a patchwork of salvaged parts, but it was reliable. While scanning X-427 for salvageable materials, his sensors picked up an unusual energy signature. Curiosity piqued. He landed near the source and soon discovered the crashed pod. When Elias found Lira, she was barely conscious, her body weakened by dehydration and exposure. Despite her alien appearance, he recognized the desperation in her eyes. Without hesitation, he carried her to his ship, administering what little medical aid he could. First, Lira was wary. Humans were known to be resourceful but unpredictable. She had heard stories of their greed and ruthlessness. But Elias was different. He treated her with kindness, offering her food, water, and a safe place to rest. Slowly, she began to trust him. As Lira regained her strength, the two began to communicate. Elias was fascinated by her stories of Zorathian culture, while Lira was intrigued by his tales of human resilience and ingenuity. Despite their differences, they found common ground in their shared experiences of loss and survival. One evening, as they sat in the Starblade's cramped cockpit, Lira asked Elias why he had saved her. "You could have left me there," she said, her voice tinged with both gratitude and curiosity. Elias shrugged. "I couldn't just leave you to die. It's not in my nature. Besides, everyone deserves a second chance." His words struck a chord with Lira. For the first time in her life, she felt valued not for her status or appearance but for who she was. It was a revelation that would change her forever. As weeks passed, Elias and Lira grew closer. They worked together to repair the Starblade, using Lira's knowledge of advanced Zorathian technology to upgrade the ship systems. In return, Elias taught Lira about human culture, sharing stories of Earth's history and its people's struggles and triumphs. But their idyllic partnership was not without its challenges. The Zorathians, fearing that Lira's survival might undermine their authority, sent a bounty hunter to retrieve her, or eliminate her. The bounty hunter, a ruthless mercenary named Kral, tracked the Starblade to a remote trading outpost. The confrontation was inevitable. Kral ambushed Elias and Lira in the outpost's marketplace. His weapon trained on them. "Princess Lira," he sneered, "your family has sent me to bring you back, or to ensure you never return." Elias stepped in front of Lira, shielding her with his body. "You'll have to go through me first," he said, his voice steady despite the danger. What followed was a tense standoff. Kral, confident in his superior strength and weaponry, underestimated Elias's resourcefulness. Using a combination of quick thinking and improvised gadgets, Elias managed to outmaneuver the bounty hunter, disabling his weapon and forcing him to retreat. The encounter left Lira shaken but determined. She realized that she could no longer run from her past. If she wanted to truly change her fate, she would have to confront her people and challenge their prejudices. With Elias by her side, Lira devised a plan. Using the Starblade's upgraded systems, they transmitted a message to the Zorathian capital, demanding an audience with the royal council. Lira's message was simple but powerful. I am not defined by my flaws. I am defined by my actions. And I will prove my worth. The Zorathian council, intrigued by Lira's boldness, agreed to hear her case. When she and Elias arrived at the capital, they were met with a mix of curiosity and hostility. The council, composed of the most powerful Zorathian leaders, listened as Lira recounted her experiences and the lessons she had learned from Elias. My time among the humans has taught me that true strength lies not in perfection but in compassion and resilience, she declared. I may not be flawless, but I am capable of greatness. And I will use that greatness to serve our people. Elias, standing by her side, added his own words. Lira is not just a princess. She is a leader, a friend, and a symbol of what your people could become if you embrace change. Don't let your pride blind you to her potential. The council was silent, their expressions unreadable. For a moment, it seemed as though Lira's plea had fallen on deaf ears. But then, one by one, the council members began to nod in agreement. In the end, Lira was reinstated as a member of the royal family. Her exile lifted. But her victory was not just personal. It was a turning point for her people. Inspired by her courage, the Zorathians began to question their rigid caste system, slowly embracing a more inclusive and compassionate society. As for Elias, he was hailed as a hero. But to Lira, he was more than that. He was the one who had shown her the power of mercy and the strength of the human spirit. Years later, as Lira stood on the balcony of the royal palace, looking out over the bustling city below, she reflected on her journey. She had been rejected and left to die, but a single act of kindness had changed everything. And she knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, she would face them with the same courage and compassion that had saved her life. Elias, now her trusted advisor and closest friend, joined her on the balcony. You've come a long way, he said, smiling. Lira nodded, her scales shimmering in the sunlight. We both have. And we're just getting started. Together, they looked toward the horizon, ready to face whatever the future held. For in a galaxy filled with darkness, they had found a light born of mercy, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between two unlikely allies.